You make it to the capital of not England or Avalon and find a bustling urban hub unlike you have ever seen before in your journeys through Avalon.
Instead of RPing, we opt look for easily compartmentalized quests. Is anyone offering jobs for gold in the area?
Of course. There are a number of jobs around. One particular contact is to be found in the Play District.
Okay. We go to the Play District and see what this is about.
You find a somewhat disheveled-looking playwright named William. He tells you that one of his precious plays has been stolen and implores you to find it.
Master, why would someone want to steal a play?
Because show business is a horrible cutthroat business.
Who else knew about this play?
William had an associate he used to edit some of his work. He lives across the street.
We go to the play doctor's house and begin investigating. Og. I leave the party to go on a completely random side quest.
Since you went off on your own, you notice that the group is being followed as they investigate the house.
Og. I will stalk the person stalking the party and see what he is up to.
The rest of you enter the play doctor's house and can see at first glance that he was a pack rat. He has papers everywhere and the garbage pile-up suggests that nobody has been here in quite some time.
We begin to investigate the papers and see if we find anything of note.
You find no trace of the play doctor, and since the majority of you are unable to read Avalonian, the investigation goes very slowly.
Game Master, what if we searched even harder?
Sigh. You move around some of the mess and are able to locate a secret passage to the basement.
We all clamber down the passage because metagamingly we know that Og is on watch.
You find what appears to be an alchemist's lab.
Blue. I pick up a vial. What do I find?
You find a vial filled with
blue. I appraise it. Is it worth anything?
Yes. To the right buyer it would be incredibly valuable.
Blue. I shake it jubilantly and show it to Jamie. Jamie. What the hell? I slap at Blue's hand.
The shaking causes a small chamber in the vial filled with powder to empty into the liquid portion of the vial, creating a chemical reaction which causes the vial to heat up and glow.
Game Master, you are being completely unfair.
No. You interrupted me before I could explain the vial in detail.
We immediately flee the lab. John. Unlike these rubes, I stay long enough to see what is happening.
The vial hits the stone floor of lab and creates a chemical fire. As the fire spreads to the rest of the chemicals, you know that nothing good will come out of this.
John. I will slowly walk out of the house instead of fleeing like a headless chicken.
To August, who is still outside, you hear screaming as the party runs out of the house. The alchemist lab explodes and a blazing inferno consumes the house. John calmly exits the house as it explodes, doing a slow-motion fuck yeah walk. However, John is now on fire.
Blue. I quickly grab some water and attempt to douse John.
Since you attempted to resolve a chemical fire with water, the fire bursts and spreads. Now the neighboring houses are also on fire.
John. I immediately run off to find volunteers to help me contain the fire. Iris. I run off screaming fire fire.
You find the equivalent of a volunteer firefighting unit. However, since you did not inform them about the nature of this chemical fire, they also try to douse it with water. Furthermore, since there is no such thing as a fire code in this time, the densely packed houses quickly begin to be engulfed one by one.
We go to William and try to get him to evacuate.
William expresses great discomfort at the prospect of going outside, but he tells you he will be out once he chooses a few of his prized plays to save. As you wait, you find that William is very indecisive about which plays to save. You suspect he would like to take them all.
Jamie. I gently encourage William about the urgency of the situation, implying that he does not have time for this. Og. I get sick of waiting for him and demonstrate the urgency by taking a pile of his plays and hurling them into the fire. I tell William that if he doesn't hurry, all of his plays will meet the same fate.
William is now a sobbing mess on the floor because you take the equivalent of his children and hurl them into the inferno.
We decide that the best thing we can do is contain the fire by creating a fire break. Jamie. I get some volunteers and some axes so that I can create a fire break out of the houses that have not yet been taken by the fire.
Iris, since you ran off screaming fire indiscriminately, you create mass hysteria in the market district. This creates a stampede of terrified people fleeing the market district. In the chaos that ensues, you spy a second fire beginning to form in one of the bakeries. Iris, you have successfully created the historical Great London Fire. Jamie, you find that people are reluctant to leave their house and let you chop it to pieces for your firebreak.
Jamie. I try to convince the people that this is for the greater good, that they leave their house and allow us to do our task. Blue. I begin a second firebreak on the opposite end of the district. I tell people that those who do not comply will simply be buried with their house and be part of my firebreak. Garrett. I use my fire magic to attempt to slow the fire while directing the fire to spread away from the core of the city.
Jamie, your efforts to convince people to let strangers cut down their homes progresses slowly, while the brutal efficiency of the other firebreak moves at a brisk pace.
John. I use my berserker stature to intimidate respect from further volunteers and begin to act as impromptu fire chief and organizing the efforts to contain the fire.
By now the second fire in the market district has grown large enough for the rest of the party to see.
Iris. I go to the river to see if there is any way to cross it to safety.
Throngs of people had the same idea and have also fled to the water. You see a number of ferries run by vendors willing to give the people passage for a steep price.
Iris. I try to appeal to their sense of fellowship and goodness to let the people pass instead.
The vendors laugh at your pleas and drift off. Those elsewhere will notice that people have begun to loot the surrounding areas.
Iris. I asked various local fishermen gathered and see if they are willing to offer their help. Og. I hop onto a carriage and tell the people not to panic. I say that we should all make our way to Queen Elaine's castle. I order able-bodied men to pull my carriage so I can be seen leading the people. John. We are woefully low on manpower, so I send a runner to Og's revolutionary force. Og. It is a pilgrimage, not a revolution. But I send able-bodied men to John's location to help out in the effort.
Iris, the fishermen are willing to cooperate in this time of crisis. August, your flock moves slowly, but the fringes of it begin to loot and pillage with great intensity.
Og. I send a runner to the Vodachi district telling them of my noble birth. I say that those who answer my call will be rewarded with Godfather-esque favors.
Your summons are heard and a small army of willing fighters arrive.
I order them to crack down on the looters and maintain order where they can.
While your efforts in the Play District are making steady progress, the second fire spread moves towards the Warehouse District, where various dry goods are stored such as grain and gunpowder.
Blue. I leave my servant in charge of the firebreak operation and take a group of volunteers with me to the Warehouse District. I tell them, we must go to the Warehouse District before it explodes and destroys not London.
Since you have about 2 months of experience speaking Avalonian, your volunteers only manage to understand Warehouse District, not London. Explode. The rest of the party hears strange messages about accelerating not London's destruction so that it could be rebuilt.
John. I hear this message and go into a rage and run to the Warehouse District. Jamie. I am alarmed by this message but continue the firebreak. Og. I sent a message by bird to the Queen saying that I have a group of people needing shelter and warn her that madmen are threatening the Warehouse District.
Clue. You see your volunteers create a whiskey trail that connects all the warehouses.
Blue. I scream at them in Vodachi and more broken Avalonian.
Avalonians do not understand Vodachi.
John. I make a Herculean effort to get to the Warehouse District before it is too late. Garrett. I run across the rooftops with great speed in hopes that I get to the Warehouse District to assist.
Thanks to the work done by Plu's volunteers, your efforts are for nothing and the warehouses catch fire.
Oh shit.
The resulting explosion decimates 3/4 of not London, leaving broken families, despair and a very post-apocalyptic sense of calm.
Agu.
The Queen recognizes the party's efforts during this crisis and creates a new order of knights. You will all be knighted into the Order of Avalon for your leadership and initiative during the fire, as your work greatly mitigated the potential damage.
John, I cannot as an honorable warrior let this go. I tell the Queen that ultimately it was our actions that caused the fire to start in the first place.
The Queen pauses. She deliberates for a moment and says that she cannot undo the titles granted, and since the party are heroic symbols in the eyes of the people, this knowledge must not be circulated. Queen Elaine exiles the newly formed Order of Avalon. You are not to return until you have repaid your debt to Avalon.